Hello, everybody, and welcome to Friday Apocryphal Podcast, your one-stop shop for everything Friday Apocryphal and podcast. And boy, do we have a show for you today. Today we are covering Jubilees, chapters 4 through 6. And boy, is it gonna be great. All this.
I mean, Jubilees. There's so much stuff in Jubilees. It's stuff we never heard before.
Yeah.
It's not as if it's a retelling and commentary of Genesis and Exodus. Not at all.
And done in such a biased way that it's a little bit it's only a little bit recognizable.
Not even a chance that it's that.
Yep. Not even a chance. Anyways, I have this book here, the Hermenia translation of Jubilees, by James C. Vanderkam.
I have this book here, and it is the Hermenia commentary on Jubilees. This is just the first part of Jubilees 1 through 21. And this is also by James C. Vanderkam. That's what we have, yeah. But you know what? These Hermenia commentaries are pretty stellar.
Yeah, and they're huge.
Yeah.
They're so in-depth.
They are.
Thanks, James. What
Yeah.
a guy.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Huzzah for James.
Huzzah!
Not King, though. Not that King guy.
Not King James. That guy's an asshole.
Probably.
Yeah, no one likes that guy.
No one. Anyways, well, anything to say about what we're about to read?
Not much. I mean, it's pretty much the same retelling of stuff that we heard before, but now it's like the next part. We talked about Adam and Eve. Now we got to talk about Cain and Abel.
Of course.
Yeah, there's really, that's it. That's what you got to do.
And Seth.
Yeah.
And a bunch of other people.
Yeah, I think we're going to talk a little bit about Noah at the end.
Cool. Yeah. Anyways, let's get into it. The first family, the first generations. Chapter 4. In the third week, in the second Jubilee, years 64 through 70, she gave birth to Cain, that's Eve. Mm-hmm. In the fourth, 71 through 77, she gave birth to Abel. And in the fifth, 78 through 84, she gave birth to his daughter Awan. Awan.
What?
Yes, that is what that says there. That's still verse 1. Wow. Okay. Long verses. So I'm currently looking at there is no
there's verse
parallel.
by verse commentary after the general commentary as well.
Yeah, I know. But this is the verse by verse commentary.
Okay.
This is where it starts. So the story about Cain and Abel is not only shortened in Jubilees, but is also reformulated to document themes dear to the author. So there's another version. Of course, the Genesis one doesn't talk about Awan, right?
Right.
No, it does not.
But there's another one that does.
Oh.
Yeah, it says, in the 77th year, they say the righteous Abel was born. In the 85th year, a daughter was born to them, and they named her Aswam.
What's that from?
Syncelis?
Syncelis.
I think that's how it's pronounced. I can't. Oh, it's a Greek text.
Oh.
Yeah. So that's interesting. It's not the Septuagint, but it is a Greek text.
A similar name,
Yeah.
but not the same name. Interesting.
So either way here, the most obvious difference in Jubilees is the set of dates in which the writer encases the events. So those are actually straight up in there.
Mm-hmm.
The birth of Cain takes place in the third week of years, in the second Jubilee of years, that is between the years 64 and 70 from creation, and that of Abel in the following week of years, between 71 and 77. Syncelis, whose information relies on Jubilees in this context, agrees with the dates in Jubilees, but is more precise than they are. Yeah, in the 70th year, the firstborn son of Cain was born to them. In the 77th year, it is... Yeah, so it gives those direct notes there. Yeah.
All right. During the first week of the third Jubilee, 99 through 105.
One of the things on the name that we were, curious about, this secret daughter that's there. So the second Jubilean feature in the verse is the notice that the first couple became the parents of a daughter whose name is given. According to Genesis 5:4, the days of Adam after he became the father of Seth were 800 years, and he had other sons and daughters. Genesis never names the others, but for Jubilees, in which the first daughter is born before Seth, it is important to indicate who two of the daughters were, since they became wives of Cain and Seth. Of course they did.
Wow.
And thus the mothers of their lines.
Of course they did.
Yeah, you got to throw in that incest in there. As a result...
How else would you explain the species?
All these people.
Well, I mean... If I guess this is a commentary portion, right? Because in the text of Genesis, there were already other people.
Right.
Yeah, so it wasn't a big deal. But if you do take it very literally, and it doesn't say that God made all those other people, then you gotta have an explanation for some other people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that explanation is incest.
Yes. As a result, the book states that Eve gave birth to a daughter, Awan, in the week of years after the one in which Abel arrived, so between 78 and 84. Cincelus says that Aswam was born in year 85, the year after the 7-year span designated in Jubilees 4:1. Since Cain married her, see verse 9, her name, variously spelled, figures in the extant lists of the patriarchal wives. Okay, so that's interesting. Yeah, so here are some of the names in the Ethiopic Jubilees. There's Awan, which we have covered. There are some other variants. There's a Syriac one, and I think it's Sewa, something like that. I'm not sure. Let's see. And then some Greek ones. There is Asaul. There is Sawa. And there's also Aswam, and that's senseless, yeah. Mm-hmm. So it may be a coincidence, but the name as spelled in the best Ethiopic manuscripts recalls the Hebrew word that occurs in Cain's declaration, "My punishment," or guilt, "is greater than I can bear," in Genesis 4:13. So that's interesting.
Yes. During the first week of the third Jubilee, 99 through 105, Cain killed Abel because we had accepted his sacrifice from him, but from Cain we had not accepted one.
Yeah, so that's he's angry about that, obviously.
Rather than we had accepted, some manuscripts read he had accepted. The same variant occurs later in the verse as we had not accepted. Okay. When he killed him in a field, his blood cried out from the ground to heaven, crying because he had been killed. The Lord blamed Cain regarding Abel because he had killed him, while he allowed him a length of time on the earth because of his brother's blood. He cursed him upon the earth.
Yeah, so there's a little bit to unpack there. So where the deity says, "Your brother's blood is crying out to me from the ground," Jubilees interprets "to me" to mean to heaven, which is weird. I mean, I get that, but like, why? Like, we know what they're talking about when someone says, like...
Yeah, and there's different accounts of Cain and Abel, and different apocryphal texts where the blood is more or less significant.
Well, yeah. You know, when it's the first murder, like, that is significant. Mm-hmm. But it didn't bring sin into the world.
No.
And death was already in there.
No, presumably... Well, I mean, not just presumably, the original sin narrative would have the original sin
be the original sin.
The original sin, right?
Either way.
Yep. I'll continue then. For this reason, it has been written on the heavenly tablets.
Yes. So these are the things that are, read to Moses.
Mm-hmm. The contents inside the Ark of the Covenant.
Yeah. So the case of Cain leads to an angelic explanation of a law inscribed on the heavenly tablets. Quote, for this reason, connects the curse imposed on him with the one mentioned in Deuteronomy 27:24, if you want to pull that up. Yeah, Deuteronomy 27:24. As all commentators note, there it appears in a series of 11 curses.
Cursed be he that smiteth his neighbor secretly, and all the people shall say amen. Yeah, there's a bunch of curses here.
Yep, a comparison of Jubilees formulation with the ones in the ancient versions shows how the author read the passage. The Hebrew is transcribed for ease of comparison. Thank you.
Yep. So here it says, cursed is the person who beats his companion maliciously. All who saw it said, may it be, and let the man who has seen but has not told be cursed like him.
Yeah, so Jubilees extends the statement of the law beyond the words of Deuteronomy 27:24, and let the man who has seen but has not told be cursed like him.
Mm-hmm.
Here the law is extended explicitly to cover cases in which there are witnesses. Of course, the whole witness thing did become important. That's actually why
Right.
the whole Trinity thing was important,
Yeah.
is because you have to have multiple witnesses. So there are 3 that bear record in heaven.
For this reason, we report when we come before the Lord our God, all the sins that take place. 11Q Jub 1-2. The Ethiopic manuscript reads are taking place.
11Q what?
11Q Jub
Jubilees.
Jubilees 1-2.
Okay.
In heaven and on earth, what happens in the light, in the darkness, or in any place. So that's the first 6 verses of this chapter. Now we're in a different section on the Sethite genealogy.
Yeah, so after the interlude for the angelic explanation of the laws occasioned by Cain's killing of his brother, the writer moves to his version of the Sethite genealogy and uses material from Genesis 4:25 as well as Genesis 5.
Okay. Adam and his wife spent 4 weeks of years mourning for Abel. Then, in the 4th year of the 5th week, 130, they became happy. Again, Adam again knew his wife, and she gave birth to a son for him. He named him Seth because he said, the Lord has raised up for us another offspring on the earth in place of Abel, for Cain had killed him.
So just like, here's a replacement child.
Yep.
This guy's just as good, all right?
Yep. In the 6th week, 134 through 140, he became father of his daughter, Azura.
Yeah, so this is the second daughter then.
Cain married his sister Awan at the end of the 4th Jubilee, 148 through 196.
Yeah, and apparently Azura is attested in the lists of the matriarchs as the wife of Seth, see verse 11 below, with little variation in spelling.
But apparently here she's the wife of Cain.
Yeah, and it also...
And at this time she gives birth to Enoch.
No, that was Awan. I was talking about Azura.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Different person. Both starting with A.
Yes.
Both married their brother.
Also, yes.
Okay, so Awan gives birth to Enoch. In the 1st year of the 1st week of the 5th Jubilee, 197, houses were built upon the earth. Then Cain built a city and named it after his son Enoch. So where's Enoch City?
Boy, do I wish I knew where Enoch City was. So that was verse 9, right?
Yeah, that was verse 9.
Okay. So we can check Genesis 4:17, not for, it's just a cross reference. At this juncture, Jubilees makes an abbreviated and belated gesture toward the genealogy of Cain, a genealogy that precedes the birth notice of Seth in Genesis 4. Genesis 4:17 refers to Cain's wife, but does not give her a name. The author of Jubilees fills the gap by identifying her as his sister Awan, whose birth he recorded in 4:1. Their child Enoch was born, according to Jubilees, at the end of the fourth Jubilee, that is, at the end of the time span 148 to 196. Censulus says they were married in 135 when Cain was 65 and she 50. Numbers that are consistent with the years he gives for their births. And that Enoch's birth took place in 196.
197 in here.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Unlike...
Oh, no. Between 148 to 196.
Okay.
It says at the end of the fourth Jubilee.
Yeah, end of the fourth Jubilee. That's what we got.
So I guess 196 is the absolute end.
Of the fourth Jubilee?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, got to do the math. But either way, yeah, it works out. Unlike Genesis, Jubilees adds that in the following year, the year of the world 197, houses were built on earth. Of course, just like that, houses. Here you go. It's that simple.
Guys, it's free real estate.
It's free real estate. Thank you.
Yep. So are these houses wooden houses? Are they clay houses? Mud?
Probably all sorts.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, but almost the entire clause survives on 11Q12:19. So perhaps the notice anticipates the building of a city in the next sentence, also in Genesis 4:17, and he built a city. But it additionally prepares for 4:31, where Cain's death came about when his house collapsed on him. Jubilees clears up the ambiguity in Genesis regarding who, Cain or Enoch, built the city by naming Cain as the urban planner. Censulus does the same and dates the construction of the city to the 197th year.
Yeah, it doesn't make much sense.
I still want to know where Enoch City is.
Yeah, so do I.
That's your first quest when we played the D20 version of the Bible.
Okay, all right, that sounds fun.
Yep, gotta find Enoch City.
But, think about this, right? Cain and Awan are going off. Now, they have one kid at this point, right? One kid.
Yeah.
Who founds a city with 3 people? How does that make any sense?
Well, first they had to get houses. That's why the houses were built first.
Yeah, so there's
and then a
2
city
or
was
3
built.
houses that exist in the world right now.
Yes.
And then a city. But wouldn't it take many
more people?
generations,
Yes.
way more people?
Yes.
So what's the implication?
But with God, anything is possible.
Yeah, but what does that even mean? Does it mean that they
They had
they got a
900
well
years. They lived a
and-
lot longer, guys. They spent a lot longer making these cities.
Yeah, but
they spent a third of their life, which is 200 something years, maybe.
But even with that amount of time, what does it mean when it says that he makes a city? Is that he constructs a blacksmith shop and waits until someone's born who can be a blacksmith?
There's a song about this where they say they built this city on rock and roll.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how. Metaphors.
You can't have a city with 3 people. It's not a city. Anyways. Adam knew his wife Eve, and she gave birth to 9 more children. Let's just gloss over them. They don't matter. In the 5th week of the 5th Jubilee, 225 through 231, Seth married his sister Azura. And in its 4th year, 235, she gave birth to Enosh for him. He was the first to call on the Lord's name on the earth. In the 7th Jubilee, in the 3rd week, 309 through 315, Enosh married his sister Noam.
So let's talk about that here.
Yeah.
So Jubilees reproduces Genesis 4:26b. At that time, people began to invoke the name of the Lord, without elaborating on the sentence that elicited so much comment in antiquity. With the Hebrew textual tradition reflected in the Septuagint, Jubilees presupposes that a pronoun, presumably this, began the sentence, not then, as in the Masoretic text and some other ones. It also employs an adjective, kadami, where the Masoretic text has a curious hofal. Is that what that is? Hophal?
Hofal.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess.
Okay. Well, I don't know if that's like it says that kind of form, so I'm guessing it's specifically for Hebrew.
Mhm.
In so doing, it says more clearly that he, this one, was the first to call on the Lord's name. So, wow, that's some big praise. He's the first one to do it.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, look at these family dynamics, right? Cain marries his sister, has a son named Enoch. Then Seth marries his sister and has a son named Enosh.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah, I can sense.
Convenient.
I can sense some sibling rivalry once again.
yeah.
Yeah, it's
And
there.
it's all still just Adam because Eve is from Adam. Oh boy, so it's just Adam still.
Either way, the writer
You
shows.
see, this is a scientific miracle of the Bible because it details how a speciation worked from asexually reproducing organisms to sexually reproducing organisms.
I saw some vodka. Did you have some of that earlier?
No,
Oh, okay, good.
we could, though.
We could. The writer shows care as well in pointing out that he was the first to do so on the earth, since the angels had done this before, but in heaven. Jubilees follows its procedure in verse 13 by naming Enosh's wife, his sister Noam, and designating the when they were married. In this generation,
It doesn't detail when Noam was born.
It does not. You're right.
I-
Although the name
it just-
Noam, the name suggests pleasantness.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, she gave birth to a son for him in the 3rd year of the 5th week, 325, and he named him Kenan.
Mhm.
At the end of the 8th Jubilee, 344 to 392, Kenan married his sister, Mualalit, who was born at some point.
The name seems to embody the idea of praising or being praised.
Mm. She gave birth to a son for him in the 9th Jubilee, in the 1st week, in the 3rd year of this week, 395, and he named him Malalael.
Yes. That's right.
During the 2nd week of the 10th Jubilee, this is like Chronicles. During the 2nd week of the 10th Jubilee, 449 through 455, Malalael married Dinah, the daughter of Barachiel, the daughter of his father's brother. The Ethiopic manuscript reads father's sister. The same happens in verse 16, 20, 27, 28, 33. It is likely that in the Greek translation of Jubilees, the form patradelphos, father's brother, was used, and the translator into Ge'ez misunderstood it as to mean father's sister. The Syriac citation of this passage has the equivalent of father's brother.
Here's some extra stuff on that. Dinah, one learns from the Ethiopic version, is the daughter of his father's sister. The Syriac list of patriarchal wives says she was the daughter of his uncle, that is, of his father's brother. Codex Basel calls her the daughter of Patradelphos. Heinrich Gelser argues that this term stood in the Greek text of Jubilees and that the Ethiopic translator misunderstood it. While it means father's brother, he took it to denote father's sister. His seems the simplest solution to a problem that recurs in verses 16, 20, 27, 28, and perhaps 33.
Mm-hmm.
In addition, in 420, where Enoch's wife is under consideration, the phrasing is literally the daughter of Daniel, the daughter of his father's sister. Since Daniel is the man's name, the passage shows that father's brother is the correct interpretation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we have some cool stuff coming up here now. She gave birth to a son for him in the 3rd week in the 6th year, 461. He named him Jared because during his lifetime, the angels of the Lord, who were called Watchers, descended to earth to teach humanity and to do what is just and upright upon the earth.
Oh, yes. Good old Watchers.
And is that what the Watchers did? To teach humanity to do what's just and upright?
No.
Oh,
They didn't.
no.
Not even a little.
Shit, it sounds like they just had sex with the human women and produced horrific offspring.
Yeah, so there's a... Oh, boy, is there a lot to cover here. I'm going to cover this section here in the commentary. The thesis, and that was what, 17 through 19, right?
Oh, no, that
What
was
was that?
That was just 15.
Oh, that was 15.
Yeah. Though I can finish reading
Well,
16 because that's the last
All right,
bit
well,
of this section.
In that case, if that was 15, wow, okay. I was
Yeah.
not expecting that. So yeah, by way of the son's name, Jared, a name sharing the consonants of a Hebrew verb meaning went down, the author introduces the story of the angels who descended, here called watchers, as in 1 Enoch 6:2.
Yeah, and we're going to get into Enoch in just a little bit.
We will. But before we get into that, the same play on the meaning of Jared's name occurs in 1 Enoch 6:6, which, you know, the Enoch stuff is at my place.
Mhm.
Bummer. Where, however, the angels go down to the earth for a different reason than the one given in Jubilees.
Right, because they came down and they shared knowledge about a whole bunch of different things.
But it was bad that they had that knowledge.
Yeah, they
now.
taught them magic and shit.
Yeah, and a whole bunch of other stuff like astronomy.
Yeah. And metallurgy.
Yeah.
And how to make perfume.
Yeah,
and makeup.
horrible. Ugh.
Ugh.
Disgusting. The
Gross.
statement about the meaning of Jared's name is exceptionally important. His father so named him because during his lifetime, the angels of the Lord, who were called watchers, descended to earth to teach humanity to do what is just and upright upon the earth, which is weird because you're not gonna know that when the kid's born, that during his life, like this thing will happen.
Well, it's like the Smurfs, right?
Why is
Marty
it like the Smurfs?
Smurf was named Smarty Smurf at birth.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Grumpy Smurf. Smurfette was easy, but I mean, come on.
She's man-made.
You could probably talk about the dwarves too. And
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Dopey,
yeah.
sleepy.
Like you don't like those probably
Flippy.
don't pop up
Hang
at
on.
birth.
I mean,
Like
you know, if you name someone, you know,
they were
angry-
all probably sleepy when they were children.
Yeah, yeah. If you name
Or at
someone
points
angry
when they were sleepy.
and you always refer to them as angry, then I guess maybe they'll be an angrier person than they otherwise would have been.
Yeah, you're not wrong. For Jubilees, in distinction from the traditions preserved in First Enoch, the angels' descent was a positive event. They came on a teaching mission and to model righteous behavior.
But what
Only-
about the
Only at a later time and upon the earth did problems arise. So the angels did not become sinful in their heavenly home prior to their descent, as they probably did according to First Enoch. That happened only after they had left it. The reputation of heaven thus remains intact.
Wow.
Oh, good.
Great.
There you go.
In the 11th Jubilee, 491 through 539, Jared took a wife for himself, and her name was Baraka, the daughter of Rasu Elial, the daughter of his father's brother, in the 4th week of the Jubilee, 512 through 518. She gave birth to a son for him during the 5th week in the 4th year of the Jubilee, 522, and he named him Enoch. So this is another Enoch.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, it is. So,
Technically related to the other Enoch,
that
but
is true.
Not the same Enoch.
So, let's talk about this a little bit. The biography and writings of Enoch, just a little bit. We're not going to get too deep into it. So the thesis that the statements in what verse was that? I think that was 16, right?
Yep.
Okay, that was 16. You know what? You can get through 19, then we can talk about it.
Okay. We're talking about Enoch now. He was the first of humanity who were born on the earth, who learned the art of writing, instruction, and wisdom, and who wrote down in a book the signs of the sky in accord with the fixed patterns of their months, so that humanity would know the seasons of the years according to the fixed patterns of each of their months, which is the astronomical book.
Yeah. And you know what? Maybe
This is that Enoch.
well, yeah, this is that Enoch, but
So is this a post Book of Enoch author?
Oh yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, probably. We of course, if we're talking about, what, mid 2nd century, is that what this was? Right? I think it was mid 2nd century. BCE, of course.
But there were popular ideas about Enoch in general, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. So yeah, mid 2nd century BCE. The astronomical book probably would have been a thing at this point. Yeah.
I mean, it is like directly referencing, and like the only other way that I could see it is like, oh well, they wrote about Enoch writing an astronomical book. I'm going to write an astronomical book, and
Right.
But probably not that likely, given that.
Yeah, we're gonna
Pretty
talk.
direct here.
We're gonna talk a little bit about some of that.
Okay,
Hopefully,
it's
it
also
comes up.
very Hermes Trismegistus-y, right? Where he's like, ooh, yeah, the art of writing and instruction and wisdom.
Right, yeah.
Right. Master of the philosophy of the whole world.
Yeah.
He was the first to write a testimony. He testified to humanity in the generations of the earth. Yeah, of course he's the first to write a testimony. He's the first to write.
Yeah.
The weeks of the Jubilees he related and made known the days of the years. The months he arranged and related the Sabbaths of the years as we had told him.
Yeah, so the list of revealed items also has a distinctive Jubilean cast to it. That's the list you just read out there.
That's verse 18.
Yeah. So in the astronomical book, Uriel explains the days of the years and of the months, but he does not speak about Jubilees, much less weeks of Jubilees, or weeks or Sabbaths of years. Jubilees resorts to the time units of Jubilees and year weeks throughout, but even it does not speak of weeks of Jubilees, though its overall chronology covers 50 of these 49 periods. 7 Jubilee periods are, according to Millock, the largest unit mentioned. And then it just talks about some manuscripts there. But the reference, he's talking about the Qumran manuscript, noting some of the calendrical stuff. The reference favors the idea that Jubilees draws on more sources of information than the booklets in First Enoch, for its portrait of Enoch, who is presented as the first person who wrote about the calendar. So lots of stuff there that is not very Enochian.
While he slept, he saw in a vision what has happened and what will occur, how things will happen for humanity during their history until the day of judgment. He saw everything and understood. He wrote a testimony for himself and placed it upon the earth against all humanity and for their history.
And that was 19?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the thesis that the statements in 4:17 through 19 constitute a summary of Enoch's accomplishments, and not a chronologically arranged account of when he received the revelations, differs from the approach adopted by Wehrman. She follows Demont in dividing Enoch's life into 3 parts. From his birth until his marriage and the arrival of Methuselah when he was 65, his time with the angels, that's 6 Jubilees, his removal to the Garden of Eden and his activities there. Wehrman and Demont think that Jubilees 4:17 through 26 presents Enoch's activities in chronological order, since both of them understand the 6th Jubilee period to last 300 years. And yeah, it's just some a whole bunch of stuff about dates and calendars and how they present the information in First Enoch.
Mm-hmm.
Jubilees presupposes the same sort of situation because in it Enoch's sojourn with the angels lasts 294 years, not 300. So he would have been with his family again after that time, and possibly even during the 294 years when he and his wife continued to have children. In
the book of Enoch, he's like directly relating things to Methuselah.
Oh yeah, definitely. Because that's how it's going to survive.
Mm-hmm.
Through Methuselah and then through Noah, right?
Mm.
Yeah, to Noah. The evidence leads to the conclusion, defended above, that verses 17 through 19 summarize Enoch's revelations and accomplishments and do not make the claim that he received the revelations before he attained the age of 65 years.
During the 12th Jubilee in its 7th week, 582 to 588, he took a wife for himself. Her name was Edney, the daughter of Daniel, the daughter of his father's brother. In the 6th year of this week, 587, she gave birth to a son for him, and he named him Methuselah. You know, it's noteworthy that they specify these cousin relationships a lot.
Yeah.
Because in the Torah, when they talk about the relationships that you're not allowed to have with family members, cousins aren't mentioned.
Thought they were.
No.
Oh, that's right. Aunts and...
Yeah, you can't. No aunts, no uncles, no parents, grandparents, siblings. But...
one of them was okay, actually. I forget which one was left out of that list.
But the cousins were never mentioned.
Sure.
Right, which means that these relationships that they're establishing would be in line with the Torah that came after, right?
Right.
In the story that comes after, right? He was, okay, in the 6th year of this week, 587, she gave birth to a son for him, and he named him Methuselah. He was, moreover, with God's angels for 6 jubilees of years. They showed him everything on earth and in the heavens, the dominion of the sun, and he wrote down everything. He testified to the watchers who had sinned with the daughters of men because these had begun to mix with earthly women, literally the daughters of the earth.
Yeah.
Other excellent copies read the daughters of man.
That it all works.
So that they became defiled. Enoch testified against all of them. That is, it happens in the book.
Yeah.
He was taken from human society, and we led him into the Garden of Eden for his greatness and honor.
Yep.
Now he is there, writing down the judgment and condemnation of the world and all the wickedness of humanity. Because of him, the flood waters did not come on any of the land of Eden, because he was placed there as a sign and to testify against all people in order to tell all the deeds of history until the day of judgment.
So Eden was saved from this destruction.
Yeah, because Enoch was there.
Right. What verse was that?
That was verse 24.
24. Okay. So, Jubilees 424 addresses the obvious problem that if Enoch were permanently in the Garden of Eden, a spot on earth, the flood that would arrive centuries later should have covered it and drowned the hero. Because in Genesis 7:21 through 23, it kills every living thing outside the ark. It turns out that because of him, God did not bring, see the textual note, the flood water. Yeah, he did not bring the flood waters on that land. As a consequence, Enoch's labors could continue unabated in Eden. Of him, the writer used the significant word sign, a term employed in connection with Enoch, also after his removal in Sirach 44:16. Enoch pleased the Lord and was taken up, a sign of knowledge for all generations. Okay, yeah, I remember that in his praise of the ancestors.
But here, I mean, I don't remember Enoch being exactly relegated to this kind of duty.
So
right?
the
Where
vision...
No, that's too specific.
He's there writing down the judgment and condemnation of the world and all the wickedness of humanity.
That definitely did not pop up in First Enoch.
No.
However, whatever the precise significance of his role as a sign, he carries on his work of testifying that was noted several times during his earlier life. His testifying seems to involve making a record of all that happens throughout universal history. The vision he saw during his earthly life showed him, quote, what has happened and what will occur, how things will happen for humanity during their history until the day of judgment. Now, in Eden, he records and tells all the deeds of history until the judgment, apparently as they take place. So, wow.
Yeah. He burned the evening incense of the sanctuary that is acceptable before the Lord on the mountain of incense. The best Ethiopic manuscripts read Qatar, midday, noon, midday heat, which is unexpected. Qatar may be a miswriting of Qatare, incense. The Syriac citation has south, also a term that does not fit the context, as Eden is in the east.
So, one of the things that would really help us understand this, Jubilees 3 made clear that the Garden of Eden was a sanctuary. Now that theme returns with Enoch serving as a priest in this holiest of all places. While Adam had offered the first morning incense sacrifice as he was leaving the garden, the Holy of Holies, Enoch now burns the evening incense of the sanctuary in that place. So, day and night kind of thing, but they're all the sanctuary is the garden. Yeah, both the Ethiopic and Syriac versions refer to the evening, but the best family of Ethiopic manuscripts lacks the word. Its presence in the two language traditions favors viewing it as part of the text. Then furthermore on sanctuary, the Ethiopic manuscript tradition is solid that Makdas should be read. In fact, should be read. And in fact, its presence may have influenced the scribes of manuscripts 12 and 21 to read beta before it, because the two words form a common expression for temple.
All right.
So yeah, that section is way easier to understand if we understand it as the Garden of Eden as like the idealized temple.
Mm-hmm. For there are 4 places on earth that belong to the Lord: the Garden of Eden, the mountain of the east, this mountain on which you are on today, Mount Sinai, and Mount Zion, which will be sanctified in the new creation for the sanctification of the earth. For this reason, the earth will be sanctified from all its sins and from its uncleanness into the history of eternity.
Yeah, so only 4 sacred places, huh?
Yeah.
So one of the important things to note here is that the Ethiopic and Syriac names for the first place differ. The Ethiopic has the Garden of Eden, and Syriac has the Mountain of Paradise. So that's an interesting one. But the 4 places are mountains that belong to the Lord. The implication is that they are special in some way. The last 2 of the places are familiar: Sinai and Zion. So we have Jerusalem, and of course where Moses received his tablets and his commandments, and very important stuff went down at Sinai. So those are, we get it.
Yeah.
So the Syriac reading, Mountain of, may be an editorial attempt to bring the first of the 4 places into line with the other 3, which are explicitly identified as mountains.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, floods. They don't hit all the mountains.
By the way, so let's talk a little bit more about these. The best suggestion for the mountain of the east, one of the places special for the Lord, is Mount Lubar, on which the ark came to rest as the floodwaters receded. That's 528. Noah appears to have spent the rest of his life there. The mountains of Ararat are in a northeasterly direction from Israel on the map of Jubilees. So that mountain, so that Mount Lubar, one of the mountains of Ararat, can be said to lie in that direction and thus could be called the Mountain of the East. There's also an etymological support for the identification. Lubar is likely related to Akkadian Labiru, old, and the mountain in question seems to be the Mountain of the East or Mountain of Antiquity of Genesis 10:30. And also, Spider the Ateo, I'm going to guess that's how you say it, $2.99. And
Thank you. And
an incredible cat, I think.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure it's a cat.
yes, your donation goes towards our $666 donation drive. Once we hit 666, we're going to get a thetan meter. We're going to take it apart. We're going to see who's the most clear. We're going to manipulate it. We're going to take down Scientology.
There it is.
Oh, it's popping up?
It just took a sec.
Yeah, we got the things back. So that's nice to have.
I don't know how they got disabled. They were locked, and somehow they still got, you could turn them on and off. I don't know why they were off.
If you want to see your own animation thing, go ahead and
try a different value. They're different for different values.
Yeah, in fact, try a higher value.
Or try nothing.
Yeah, if you donate $1,000, you might see something special.
No, we don't have anything like that.
No, we don't. But you might.
That'd be crazy.
Yeah.
All right, let's go. Got more to read, don't we?
Yeah, yes, we do.
Yep. During this Jubilee, that is the 14th Jubilee, Methuselah married Edna, the daughter of Ezrael, the daughter of his father's brother, in the 3rd week of the 1st year of that week, 652. He became the father of a son whom he named Lamech. In the 15th Jubilee, in the 3rd week, 701 through 707, Lamech married a woman whose name was Betanosh, the daughter of Barachiel, the daughter of his father's brother. During this week, she gave birth to a son for him, and he named him Noah, explaining, "This one will give me consolation from my sadness, from all my work, and from the earth the Lord cursed."
Yeah, so we have a little bit of a difference there between the Genesis
There
one.
you
But
go.
also,
Thank you,
Ragabash, thank you very much.
Yes, thank you, Ragabash Dabbler.
And what you have just seen, that's what happens when you do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's there for you. So thank you for the 666.
Thank you very much.
Hail ball.
Hell ball. It's right there.
Worth.
Yeah.
Yep. At the end of the 19th Jubilee, during the 7th week in its 6th year, 930, Adam died. All his children buried him in the land where he had been created. He was the first to be buried in the ground. He lacked 70 years from 1,000 years, because 1,000 years are one day in the testimony of heaven. For this reason it was written regarding the tree of knowledge, "On the day you eat from it, you will die." Therefore, he did not complete the years of this day because he died during it.
Wow. All right. So there's quite a lot to talk about there. What verse was that specifically?
That was 30 is the part with the
30.
the 1,000 years.
Right. So that comes up a lot in discussions with old Earth creationists, I think.
Mhm.
Yeah, where they're
I've not heard that term in so long.
yeah, right. So here's where we get this. The way they interpret it was that so each of those days when God was creating things was 1,000 years. So they weren't literal 24-hour periods. They were 1,000 years.
Yeah.
And of course that oh boy, I'm guessing that's
Is that older than 6,000?
Yeah, that puts us at like around 10,000.
Unless the whole
12,000.
No.
Yeah,
New
yeah,
Earth
it does.
creationists be mad at those guys.
yeah.
Oh boy.
But you know what? That's why there's the whole range 6 to 10,000. Yeah. But then even before that. Either way,
Great.
let's talk about this a little bit. The following verse turns to a familiar problem in Genesis. According to Genesis 2:16 through 17, the Lord God commanded the man, "You may freely eat of every tree of the garden, but of the tree of knowledge of good and evil you shall not eat, for in the day that you eat of it you shall die." The difficulty was that the man lived hundreds of years after eating the fruit from the tree, so that he could hardly be said to have died in the day that you eat of it. Did the two scriptural givens conflict with each other? Naturally, the conclusion did not commend itself to the writer of Jubilees, and to arrive at a solution to the difficulty, he drew on Psalm 93 through 4 to resolve an issue in the Torah. The psalm speaks of the very topic with which Jubilees 4:29 through 30 is dealing: human mortality. You turn us back to dust and say, "Turn back, you mortals." And its return language is reminiscent of Genesis 3:19. The man will return to the earth from which he was taken because he is dust. So it was reasonable to think that Adam, in connection with Psalm 93, hold on, I feel like no, I didn't skip a page. All right, that was just, all right.
Yeah. So Adam gets buried. He gets buried not in the Garden of Eden, but in the place where he was created, which was outside of the Garden of Eden, where he had to wait, 40 days before he could go in?
Yeah, it was 40 days in here.
Yeah, even though they didn't have a
Yeah,
kid.
they put him back in the waiting lobby before he died.
Yeah.
I think there should be at least a little bit more on how long these periods actually are. So
it's 1,000 years.
No, I know, but a little bit more info on it.
Here it says that when it says 1,000 years are one day, some Ethiopic manuscripts add like. So 1,000 years are like one day.
Okay. Huh. Well, either way, armed with this exegetical insight, the writer felt justified in saying about Adam that he did not complete the years of this day. That is 1,000 years. Jubilees provides the earliest preserved example of this interpretation, which was often duplicated in later times. And Justin, 40 days, 40,000 years. I don't know, man. I can't.
Like God days.
I can't.
I don't know if they're
God
the
days,
same.
human days. I feel like they should just have different words for those things.
Yeah.
The dog days of summer, the God days of humanity. I don't fucking know.
Yeah. Like they have weeks of years. Why can't they?
Whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
sure.
Jubilees.
Right. So it's like,
How long is a God Jubilee? 49,000 years?
yes. Wait, no, because
Yes.
no, it wouldn't.
It'd be
Because 49 years has how many days? Way more days.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's
so
way longer.
it would be a lot longer.
Either way.
Yeah. Anyway, no, that would be, yeah. I don't know. It depends on the calendar that you're using.
Oh, I
really,
suppose.
Right?
Or the style at the time. Whoa.
Yeah. Well, that is what a calendar is. It's a stylistic choice to represent the movement of heavenly bodies.
Either way,
if you
someone's
wanna
gonna die
call it
next.
that.
Let's see who dies next.
Yeah. Okay. The conclusion of this jubilee, Cain was killed after him in the same year. His house fell on him, and he died inside his house. He was killed by its stones, for with a stone he had killed Abel, and by a just punishment he was killed with a stone. For this reason has been ordained on the heavenly tablets, by the instrument with which a man kills his fellow, he is to be killed. As he wounded him, so are they to do to him.
So, far more important than the year of his death is the nature of Cain's end. In Jubilees, it is the first instance of measure for measure retribution, and thus the reason for a law of retaliation that is inscribed on the celestial tablets. The text reports that he died when his house collapsed on him. And of course, call back to building the city. The house is not the key factor. That it was built of stones is. A stone from his house killed Cain, just as he had killed Abel with a stone. Genesis 4:8 discloses only that when they were in the field, Cain rose up against his brother Abel and killed him. To no one's surprise, speculation arose about how he killed them. Bloodshed was involved, obviously, but no instrument is named. Several Jewish sources attest the idea that a stone was the weapon, a likely inference from their being in a field.
Now, I've seen children's cartoons as a child, of course, relating to these things.
Or as an adult.
No, I wouldn't willingly subjected myself to this. This was more like, hey, kids, here's a thing to watch while I leave the room at Sunday school. And I'm like, oh, God,
Gotcha.
no. It's bad. Anyways, yeah, they always had a stone killing them. I'm not sure if that transferred into just the pop culture media of it as well.
Yeah, so one of the notes here from a rabbi, of course. So Rabbi Simeon, apparently, his view was that he killed him with a staff, while some of the other rabbis said he killed him with a stone. For I have slain a man for wounding me indicates a weapon which inflicts bruises. That's the quote.
Wow. Wonderful. Anyways, in the 25th Jubilee, Noah married a woman whose name was Amzara, the daughter of Barachiel, the daughter of his father's brother. During the first year in the 5th week, 1205. In its 3rd year, 1207, she gave birth to Shem for him. In its 5th year, 1209, she gave birth to Ham for him. And in the 1st year, during the 6th week, 1212, she gave birth to Japheth for him.
How kind.
And that's the end of chapter 4. Hey, if you're enjoying the stream so far, give us a like, share it around with your friends, family, neighbors, Twitter followers, etc. And yeah,
all that good stuff. Got a lot of cool stuff going on. All right.
a lot of cool stuff going on there.
Yeah. How about we hop into the next chapter, shall we?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So chapter 5 then. Angels and women, judgment and flood, the growth of evil on the earth. Those are the headings for it. When humanity began to multiply on the surface of the entire earth, and daughters were born to them, the angels of the Lord, in a certain year of this Jubilee, saw that they were beautiful to look at. So they married of them whomever they chose. They gave birth to children for them, and they were giants.
Yeah,
Well,
so-
at least that's accurate. The first generation was giants.
Yeah, the wording in this verse covers much of Genesis 6, 1 through 2 and 4.
Although I like how it's in a certain Jubilee. So we weren't given an exact date in Enoch, I don't think, about when this happened, about the fall of the Watchers. So, yeah, that's why he had to say, at a certain point in this Jubilee.
An unknown, but a certain point.
Yeah.
Inevitably.
It's somewhere in there.
Yeah, and if we remember from Enoch, the angels, the Watchers, their children are the giants. The giants' children are the Nephilim, and the Nephilim's children are the Eliod.
Yeah. Wickedness increased on the earth. All animate beings corrupted their way, every one of them, from people to cattle, animals, birds, and everything that moves about on the ground. All of them corrupted their way and their prescribed course. So the issue of prescribed courses was huge, especially in the astronomical book. And any deviation from that it's horrible. It just, first of all, it can't be done when it comes to astronomical things because God power. And in the same way, or in a similar way, I should say, humans can't do it, shouldn't do it, because that's wicked. That's disobeying God, basically. And it's interesting that, and we kind of noted this before, but here the Watchers are not responsible. Here the humans themselves and the giants and the descendants of them are corrupted.
Right.
They all of them corrupted their way. So the Watchers didn't do that. It's not their fault.
And this
Just like Gene Snitsky, not their fault.
so the stuff that we're getting into now, verses 3 through 5, is just a little more detailed version of God's judgment prior to the flood.
Ah, fantastic. They began to devour one another, and wickedness increased on earth. Every thought of all humanity's knowledge was evil like this all the time.
All the time.
The Lord saw that the earth was corrupt, that all animate beings had corrupted their prescribed course, and that all of them, every one that was on the earth, had acted wickedly before his eyes. He said that he would obliterate people and all animate beings that were on the surface of the earth that he had created. He was pleased with Noah alone.
Yeah, so this very short 5th verse reproduces Genesis 6:8 verbatim, apart from adding the clarifying word alone. Noah alone found favor before the Lord, also in verse 19. At this point, nothing is said to explain how he managed to be upright in such corrupt times. Readers of Genesis and Jubilees know only the predictions made about him by his father Lamech, but later evidence of his righteousness will be recorded, e.g. verses 19, 21, 22. To this circumstance, the existence of a righteous person, the deity, will likewise respond in a just manner. The paragraph sets forth, so after this, we're about to get into a new paragraph.
Yeah.
Right? So here we're getting into punishments in response to
The people being wicked.
Yeah, and the interbreeding with the angels.
Yeah.
So it's related in Genesis 6, but rests in particular on a wider base of material known best from 1st Enoch 1st Enoch chapters 6 through 11.
The Book of the Watchers, guys.
The Book of the Watchers.
Against his angels, whom he had sent to the earth, he was angry enough to uproot them from all their positions of authority. Wait a minute, hold on. Okay, so there was a thing earlier about these angels being good, and then we were told that the angels were still good, but humanity kind of messed up, right? To preserve the sanctity, the holiness of heaven, I suppose. And now we're being told that God was so mad at the angels that he uprooted them from their positions of authority.
On earth.
Well, let's see. He told us to tie them up in the depths of the earth.
This is what happened in 1st Enoch.
Yeah, and now they are tied within them and are alone. Okay, so yeah, he's still. I mean, angels still have a position of authority in heaven, because you have classes of angels, and angelology is a huge theme in the book. So it doesn't necessarily have to be positions of power on earth or of authority on earth. So either way, God's mad at them.
Yeah.
So I can't keep up with the actual view of this book. Are the angels to blame or not?
The angels are to blame
How
because
about
they lose their authority.
I'm going to ask you the people.
Are the angels to blame?
Yeah, are the angels to blame? Tell me in the chat. Do you blame the angels? Because we gotta solve this. Yeah. Maybe we can help out the author of Jubilees.
It's the angels' fault for having sex with the humans. Should have known better.
But God did it.
Did they cause? Can you say they caused the wickedness?
Well, in 1st Enoch, when
I'm not talking about 1st Enoch. I'm talking about specifically Jubilees.
Right. Well, Jubilees is not that detailed. It doesn't give you enough detail to determine whether or not they caused it.
Well, it said earlier that the angels brought, like knowledge and stuff, and it was fine. It was a good thing. Earlier in this book, today, last chapter,
Yeah.
And now they're talking about the wickedness that they inadvertently caused, you could say.
Yeah,
But
that wasn't a consequence of like their initial mission, right? Their initial mission was to just go to the earth and spread good tidings and such, and instead they chose to have sex with a bunch of humans, and that caused problems in the form of giants.
Right, but is it their fault that humanity was led astray? That's what I'm asking.
And is it anyone? They get punished for it.
They do.
So it's God's judgment that it's their fault.
Okay.
And
But even though they were said, it was said before. What I'm saying is that he's contradicting himself. That's what I'm saying.
But they weren't doing that previously. Right? They weren't immediately having sex with human females when they were first assigned to their mission.
Yeah, they were making perfumes and stuff, remember?
They were like spreading good cheer and doing angelic things.
So the humans corrupted them?
I think, is that it? Like,
well, if how would
well, they're removed from a position of authority for being corrupt. So, the judgment is there that they were corrupted in some way. Obviously, they weren't like that initially. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been sent there in the first place.
Right. Okay. But I'm I'm getting from the chat that we're gonna blame the angels. That's what we're doing. All right. Blame the angels. Okay. Fair enough. Let's continue. Regarding their children, there went out from his presence an order to strike them with the sword and to remove them from beneath the sky. He said, "My spirit will not remain on people forever, for they are flesh. Their lifespan is to be 120 years. He sent his sword among them so that they would kill one another. They began to kill each other until all of them fell by the sword and were obliterated from the earth." So there's a lot of stuff to talk about there.
It's like the Bhagavad Gita.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, quite a lot there. So one of the things to note is that so they're going after the giants, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the descendants.
Yeah. As part of their punishment.
Right. So now it seems like there's a war between giants and humans now.
Mm-hmm.
And so he said, "My spirit will not remain on people forever, for they are flesh. Their lifespan is to be 120 years. And of course, the 120 years note, we've seen that before. That was in Genesis. Mm-hmm. And that's broken. There were people who lived more than that. I forget their name. One of the kings, right? One of the judges. Somebody much later in the book after that initial proclamation, somebody lived past that amount of years. I used to have it written down, and it was somewhere over here, but that was quite a while ago. So, yeah, I don't know. Either way, someone...
Help.
Yeah.
That was verse 9, right?
That was verse 8 with the 120 years bit.
Okay.
There were multiple people that lived over 120 years. They get less and less common as you continue reading the book, but they're in there.
I'm looking. If the restriction of 120 years was imposed on the giants alone, the period should end before the flood, since they died through the mutual slaughter before it arrived.
Mm-hmm.
Their deaths occur in 5:9, and the flood begins in 5:24. The sin of the angels occurred at some point in the 25th Jubilee. That is in the period 1177 to 1225. If with Berger one reads the date in Jubilees 5:1 is referring to the first year of the Jubilee period, then the illicit marriages would have occurred in 1177 and the births of the giants soon after. The flood takes place in the year 1308. So the giants could have been born in any year between 1,177 and 1,188 could still have lived 120 years and would have died before the flood. That's really all that they have there.
Gotcha. By the way, a lot of people dying. Giants dying.
Yeah, not people.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Now their fathers were watching, but afterwards they were tied up in the depths of the earth until the great day of judgment when there will be condemnation on all who have corrupted their ways and their actions before the Lord. He obliterated all from their places. There remained no one of them whom he did not judge for all their wickedness. Dry throat. He made a new and righteous nature for all his creatures, so that they would not sin with their whole nature until eternity. Ooh.
Yeah, so once they had, like King Zedekiah much later, seen the deaths of their sons before their own judgment, the fathers suffered the punishment. The angels of the presence tied them in the depths where they would remain until the great day of judgment, when they will be condemned with all who act corruptly. And so on. But it says, the angel who speaks to Moses describes the time as lying in the future and as including all sinners, not just the watchers.
That would make sense. Yeah, everyone will be righteous, each according to his kind for all time. And I'm guessing that in some way means stick to their path.
Yeah. Like the Gita.
Yeah.
Or pandas. Oh, wait, no, not like pandas.
So this next section is labeled Justice for All.
Huh. Is there truth?
Yeah.
Is there liberty?
I'm sure there will be.
I doubt it, given that the
context.
There's not going to be much
the
liberty.
only unliberated characters that we have so far are literally tied up in the center of the earth. Right? They don't detail anything.
Now, this is the day of judgment thing.
Yeah.
The judgment of them all has been ordained and written on the heavenly tablets. There is no injustice. As for all who transgress from their way in which it was ordained for them to go, if they do not go in it, judgment has been written down for each creature and for each kind. Repetition of before. There is nothing that is in heaven or on the earth, in the light, the darkness, shoal, the deep, or in the dark place. All their judgments have been ordained, written, and inscribed. So very deterministic. Or, predestination, I guess. He will exercise judgment regarding everyone, the great one in accord with his greatness, and the small one in accord with his smallness. Each one in accord with his own way. So kind of a subjective morality.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's in accordance with their assigned tasks.
With their tasks and their natures, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Either way, he is not one who shows favoritism, nor one who takes a bribe. He kind of does. If he says he will execute judgment against everyone, if someone gave everything on earth, he would not show favoritism, nor would he accept it from him, because he is the righteous judge.
Wasn't that the whole conflict behind the Cain and Abel thing? It's that God was showing favoritism to Abel's sacrifices, and that's why Cain was jealous. And
yes.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, no, it's hypocritical as hell, man. What you want?
Didn't they just tell the Cain and Abel story?
Yes, they did.
Whoops.
And I need whoops. I need to hydrate. My throat is super dry.
Oh man.
Go ahead.
Oh, I am. I'm enjoying this.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Let's continue here.
Yeah, while you're doing that.
Okay, fine. I see how it is. So this next section is headed exceptions. So now you have some rules, but now you have some exceptions. Maybe is that what it is? I guess we'll see.
Or they're exceptional.
Oh, okay. Okay, this is all starting to make sense already. The first word here. Regarding the Israelites, it has been written and ordained, if they turn to him in the right way, he will forgive all their wickedness and will pardon all their sins. It has been written and ordained that he will have mercy on all who turn from all their terrors once each year. Day of Atonement. Yeah. To all who corrupted their ways and their plans before the flood, no favor was shown except to Noah alone, because favor was shown to him for the sake of his children, whom he saved from the flood waters. For his sake. You know, it's, but God told you to save them, right? So if he's telling you to save them, it's not for, I don't know, I guess you could say it's for his sake, but this seems like it was, I guess you could see how it's both ways. It's part of God's doing and part of Noah's doing, because Noah was so good that he like impressed God and whatnot. But at the same time, God was, you know, he made the decision, right? So I guess you could see it both ways. Or maybe I'm just an idiot. What?
Extrapolating.
Yeah. So either way, to all who corrupted their ways and their plans before the flood, no favor was shown except to Noah alone, because favor was shown to him for the sake of his children, whom he saved from the flood waters for his sake, because his mind was righteous in all his ways, as it had been commanded concerning him. He did not transgress from anything that had been ordained for him. Then, of course, Noah being righteous. Of course. This next section, preparations for the flood. Good old Noah stuff. The Lord said that he would obliterate everything on the land, from people to cattle, animals, birds, and whatever moves about on the ground. He ordered Noah to make himself an ark in order to save himself from the floodwaters. Noah made an ark in every respect as he had ordered him during the 27th Jubilee of years. In the 5th week, during its 5th year, he entered it during its 6th year. That's 1308. In the 2nd month, on the 1st of the 2nd month, until the 16th. Wow. He and all that we brought to him entered the ark. The Lord closed it from outside on the 17th in the evening. Ooh, all right. That's a very specific date.
Yes.
Yeah. So you got to pinpoint the Jubilee, and then the week of years, and then the year, and then the month, and then the day. Yeah. That is how calendars work, but that is a roundabout way of doing it.
It is extremely roundabout.
I'm glad that's just not how we do it now.
Yeah.
Oh, and now we're talking about the flood itself.
Yep.
The Lord opened the 7 floodgates of heaven and the openings of the sources of the great deep, there being 7 openings in number. So I remember the coming from the deep, right? And the floodgates of heaven and whatnot. But I don't think there was anything in Genesis about there being 7.
Yeah,
do you remember that? Because
24.
I don't. Yes, that's verse 24.
No, this comes from 1st Enoch 89:2. Enoch reports what he saw at the beginning of the flood. Quote, "And again I lifted up my eyes toward heaven, and I saw a high roof and 7 sluices on it, and those sluices were pouring out much water into an enclosure."
Okay.
It does not mention 7 openings below. In this way, the writer of Jubilees adds 2 more 7s to a larger narrative already replete with reference to the number. The waters pouring into the intermediate space between the sky and the depths undo the separation between them that God fashioned on the 2nd day of creation.
the floodgates began to send water down from the sky for 40 days and 40 nights, while the sources of the deep brought waters up until the whole earth was full of water. The waters increased on earth. The waters rose 15 cubits above every high mountain, which means those would be pretty damn high.
Yeah.
The waters increased on the earth. Oh, I just read that part. The ark rose above the earth and moved about on the surface of the waters. The waters remained standing on the surface of the earth for 5 months, 150 days. Then the ark came to rest on the summit of Lubar, one of the mountains of Ararat. And those were the ones referenced before as being special mountain.
Yeah. So in Genesis 7:24, it says, "And the waters swelled on the earth for 150 days." So the verb remained standing, for the waters remained standing on the surface of the earth for 5 months, 150 days, in Jubilees, offers an interpretation of swelled. The waters would have not become increasingly deep during all of these 150 days, since the rain fell for just 40 days and nights. But the more intriguing point is that Jubilee explains the 150 days as being 5 months, a comment found explicitly in no ancient version of Genesis 7:24, though it is implied. If Jubilees uses the 364-day year as reconstructed by Jobert and attested as in 1 Enoch 72 and the calendar text from Qumran, then problems arise. Genesis 7:24 mentions the 150 days, and Genesis 8:3-4 evidently correlates them with a 5-month period. The flood began on 2:17. The waters gradually receded from the earth. At the end of 150 days, the waters had abated. And in the 7th month, on the 17th day of the month, the ark came to rest in the mountain of Ararat. The author of Jubilees simply expressed what Genesis says, but in different words, associating the 150 days with the 5 months defined in Genesis. In the Enoch Qumranan calendar, however, month 3 has 31 days, as does month 6. As a result, the period from 217 to 717 would encompass 152 days. From the numbers, some have concluded that Jubilees assumes in this passage a system of 12 30-day months, so that 5 months would indeed total 150 days. Yet Jubilees does not say that 5 months are exactly 150 days. It merely juxtaposes the two numbers. Moreover, Jubilees nowhere reproduces the date of 717 as the endpoint of the 150-day period. It may be that the writer added 5 months to indicate the nearest month total to 150 days, not to say the two were precisely the same.
Right.
An interesting comparative text for this point and for the entire narrative of the flood is 4Q 252. A section much concerned with spelling out dates in the flood story. In listing them, it addresses the 150 days / 5 month issue raised in connection with Jubilee's chronology of the flood. It says, "And the waters swelled upon the earth for 150 days until the 14th day in the 7th month on the 3rd day of the week. And at the end of 150 days, the waters decreased for 2 days, the 4th day and the 5th day, and on the 6th day the ark came to rest in the mountain of Ararat. It was the 17th day in the 7th month." The author explicitly used a 364-day calendar and realized that adding 150 days to 217 did not bring one to 717, but through 714. As a result, he had the waters begin to decrease in depth for an additional 2 days before the ark rested on a mountaintop in 217. Jubilees does not deal with the issue in such precise detail and does not indicate when the 150 days ended. It does, however, deal with a logical problem raised by Genesis.
I mean, yeah, fair enough. So it's not quite precise.
Yeah.
During the 4th month, the sources of the great deep were closed, and the floodgates of heaven were held back. On the first of the 7th month, all of the sources of the earth's deep, places were opened, and the waters started to go down into the deep below. On the first of the 10th month, the summits of the mountains became visible, and on the first month of the first month, the earth became visible. The waters dried up from above the earth in the 5th week, in its 7th year, 1309. On the 17th day of the 2nd month, the earth was dry. On its 27th day, he opened the ark and sent from it the animals, birds, and whatever moves about. So this is a much more in-depth, much more detailed description of the flood.
Yeah. I'll also point out that there's a neat little chart in here.
Yeah.
I don't know if
they definitely will not be able to see it.
They're not going to be able to see it, but it shows that the Masoretic text 4Q252, Septuagint, and Jubilees have different dates at some points for these. Jubilees lacks some dates that are available in all the other texts, so or lacks any reference even to some of that. So that's basically that.
Yeah, so in a similar way, they have a whole bunch of those kinds of little charts there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that the end of this?
Yes,
chapter?
it is. Yes, that is the end of chapter 5. And then we have one more chapter to go. It is kind of a long show, but these are long chapters in Jubilees.
Yeah, they are. I was just looking at it. I'm like, oh, geez.
Wow. Yeah, that's quite a lot.
Yeah. Okay. Covenant, Festival of Weeks, and 364-day calendar. It's chapter 6.
Yeah.
On the first of the 3rd month, he left the ark and built an altar on this mountain. He made atonement for the earth, took a kid and atoned with its blood for all the sins of the earth, because everything that was on it had been obliterated except those who were in the ark with Noah. He placed the fat on the altar. Then he took a bull, a ram, a sheep, goat, salt, a turtle dove, and offered them as burnt offerings on the altar. He was pouring on them an offering mixed with oil, sprinkled wine, and put frankincense on everything.
So this is a little bit different here than what we've had before, right? So the stuff that he's sacrificing on the altar, both, let's say a Qumran text. Oh, the Genesis Apocryphon. All right. And Jubilees 6:1-4 have amplified descriptions of Noah's sacrifice immediately upon exiting the ark. The Genesis Apocryphon refers to the boat's landing on one of the mountains of Hurarat, and the account of the sacrifice begins in line 13. The text of the section is fragmentary, but it contains most of the elements in Jubilees' description and presents them in the same order. So, atones for the earth. First, he takes a kid, or the first kid, or takes a kid. Fat burned on the fire, or fat burned on the altar. Second, burned their blood and flesh, so burnt offerings of various animals and salt. Third, turtle doves offered on the altar. And of course, there's just the mention of that. And then if you keep going, so wheat, oil, incense is a meal offering. And of course, there's offering of oil, wine, and incense. Then the one that's left out, so all of them are pretty much the same, but the one that is left out is set a blessing and put salt on it. Or sorry, salt on all. Salt on it, the blessing. What am I? I'm a fucking idiot.
Salty.
Yeah. Either way, that's just a comparison with the Genesis Apocryphon.
Yeah. He sent up a pleasant fragrance that was pleasing before the Lord. The Lord smelled the pleasant fragrance and made a covenant with him that there would be no flood waters that would destroy the earth, that throughout all the days of the earth, seed time and harvest would not cease, that cold and heat, summer and winter, day and night would not change their prescribed patterns and would never cease. Now you increase and multiply yourselves on the earth and become numerous upon it. Become a blessing within it. I will put fear of you and dread of you on everything that is on the earth and the sea. I have now given you all the animals, all the cattle, everything that flies, everything that moves about on the earth, the fish in the waters, and everything for food. Like the green herbs, I have given you everything to eat. But you are not to eat animate beings with their spirit, with the blood, because the vital force of all animate beings is in the blood, so that your blood with your vital forces may not be required from the hands of any human being. From the hand of each one I will require the blood of a human being. The person who sheds the blood of a human being will have his blood shed by a human being, because he made humanity in the image of God. As for you, increase and become numerous on the earth. Noah and his sons swore an oath not to consume any blood that was in any animate being. During this month, he made a covenant before the Lord God forever throughout all the history of the earth. So no more drinking blood, no vampirism.
Yeah, because that's the important part of life.
Yep, it's where your chi is. Your
Yeah,
life force energy.
Right there in the Bible, where
It's
your
not in the
chi
Bible.
is.
This is in Jubilees.
Yeah.
Okay, but apparently the author of Jubilees believes in like prana or something.
No,
like
I know. It literally was though. Like that's why you couldn't drink blood in like what I think it was Leviticus, right?
Because your life force energy is in it.
Well, it doesn't say that specifically, but it pretty much equates to that.
Yeah. Okay. It's chi. Okay. For this reason, he told you to make a covenant, accompanied by an oath with the Israelites during this month on the mountain, and to sprinkle blood on them because of all the words of this covenant that the Lord was making with them for all times. This is referencing Moses here receiving this information, right? Their testimony has been written regarding you to keep it for all time, so that you may not at any time eat any blood of animals or birds throughout all the days of the earth. As for the human being who has eaten the blood of an animal, of cattle, or of birds during all the days of the earth, he and his descendants will be uprooted from the earth. So yeah, don't drink blood.
What verse are you on?
That was verse 12.
Okay.
Now, you command the Israelites not to eat any blood, so that their name and their descendants may continue to exist before the Lord our God for all time. This law has no temporal limits, because it is forever. They are to keep it throughout history, so that they may continue supplicating for themselves with blood in front of the altar each and every day. In the morning and in the evening, they are continually to ask pardon for themselves before the Lord, so that they may keep it and not be uprooted. Well, that's a far cry from modern Judaism.
Yeah, so there's a comparison here, actually. So the writer of Jubilees also emphasizes to a greater degree the fact that the law is of eternal validity. Every verse from 6:10 through 14 has at least one such expression, whereas Leviticus 17 offers a parallel only in verse 7. The positive statement about blood works with and expands the Lord's words in Leviticus 17:11. So Leviticus 17:11, I have given it, blood, to you for making an atonement for your lives on the altar. For as life it is the blood that makes atonement. And of course, that's way more expanded in Jubilees 6:14.
He gave Noah and his sons a sign that there would not again be a flood on the earth. He put his bow in the clouds as a sign of the eternal covenant, that there would not henceforth be flood waters on the earth, for the purpose of destroying it throughout all the days of the earth. For this reason it has been ordained and written on the heavenly tablets that they should celebrate the festival of weeks during this month once a year, to renew the covenant each and every year. This entire festival had been celebrated in heaven from the time of creation until the lifetime of Noah.
Yes.
For 26 Jubilees and 5 weeks of years equals 1309.
Okay. So Jubilees 6:15 through 22 takes the form of a third-person report by the angel of the presence, while Genesis 9:11 through 17, which to a degree underlies it, is a continuation of God's first-person address to Noah, who says nothing, that began in verse 8. Introducing the Festival of Weeks at this point, the holiday central to the writer's covenantal theology, is an innovation relative to Genesis 9, but it is one that the author felt justified in making because of elements in that chapter and elsewhere in the Hebrew Bible.
Then Noah and his sons kept it for 7 jubilees and 1 week of years until Noah's death, 350 years. From the day of Noah's death, his sons corrupted it until Abraham's lifetime and were eating blood. Abraham alone kept it, and his sons Isaac and Jacob kept it until your lifetime. During your lifetime, the Israelites forgot it until I renewed it for them at this mountain. Now,
I feel like you could have seen that coming.
yeah. Now you command the Israelites to keep this festival during all their generations as a commandment for them. 1 day in the year, during this month, they are to celebrate the festival, because it is the festival of weeks, and it is the festival of first fruits. This festival is twofold and of 2 kinds. Celebrate it as written and inscribed regarding it. For I have written this in the book of the first law, in which I wrote for you that you should celebrate it at each of the times 1 day in a year. I have told you about its sacrifice so that the Israelites may continue to remember and celebrate it throughout their generations during this month, 1 day each year.
Yeah, so obviously Festival Week's very important for the author of Jubilees.
Yes. On the first of the first month, the first of the 4th month, the first of the 7th month, and the first of the 10th month are memorial days and days of the seasons. They are written down and ordained at the 4 divisions of the year as an eternal testimony. Noah ordained them as festivals for himself throughout the history of eternity, with the result that through them he had a reminder. On the first of the first month he was told to make the ark, and on it the earth became dry. He opened it and saw the earth. On the first of the 4th month, the opening of the depths of the abyss were below were closed. On the first of the 7th month, all the openings of the earth's depths were opened, and the water began to go down unto them. On the first of the 10th month, the summits of the mountains became visible, and Noah was very happy. For this reason, he ordained them for himself forever as memorial festivals. So they are ordained, and they enter them on the heavenly tablets. Each one of them consists of 13 weeks. Their memorial extends from one to the other, from the first to the second, from the second to the third, and from the third to the 4th. All the days the commandments will be 52 weeks of days. They will make an entire year complete, so it has been engraved and ordained on the heavenly tablets. One is not allowed to transgress a single year, year by year.
So what verse was that?
That was verse 31.
31, okay.
Anything to say about it? Or?
I'm sure I do have something to say about it, yes. So,
Okay.
After a statement about Noah's ordaining the days as memorial festivals for his benefit, the writer turns to the seasons that each of them begins and how they pass over or extend from one another, from one to the other. Jubilees 6:29 through 31 provides only a little information, but the data given are the first details in the book with regard to the annual calendar. Enoch wrote, quote, in a book the signs of the sky in accord with the fixed patterns of their months, so that humanity would know the seasons, years, and all that stuff. All the stuff that King Jacob was pretty much arguing for why First Enoch was amazing. And was credited with relating the days and months of the year, but no numerical details figure in that section. Here, the reader learns that each of the 4 seasons lasts 13 weeks, exactly 13, since there are 52 weeks in the year with no additional day or days mentioned. Quote, they will make the entire year complete. Even before he discloses the number of days in a year, the author documents how important the length of the year is by adding that the ones he mentions are all the days of the commandments. There is nothing arbitrary. Rather, it is a divine order. For that reason, he can term any divergence from it, information on the heavenly tablets, a case of transgression. No year is to be different. That is, there is no indication the author envisaged any kind of intercalation. Further precision about the exact number of these days arises in the next paragraph, the central one regarding the calendar.
Yeah.
So I guess we can hop into that one, the central one regarding the calendar.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is the angel of the presence, again, turns to Moses directly with an order for the Israelites.
Yep. You know, I imagine it's not like today, right, where most of the world uses the same calendar. Right? But back then,
I mean, there's still
when
plenty of calendars in use, but now they just... It kind of seems like they
most
use
of
one.
the world that's on the internet has reference to the same calendar.
Yeah, I mean, I would say reference to the same calendar, sure, but
Yeah.
like even they can use like another calendar for something else.
Right. But I figure that at this point in time, among different desert tribes, having your own calendar was something enviable or like important.
I mean, of course, it was important.
Well, I mean, as a point of like, I don't know, national pride or something for your tribes.
Sure, I could,
right?
but of course, as we've seen in other books, calendars can sometimes overlap in a way.
Because obviously, I mean, it's not like perfectly astronomically correct.
Right.
So, no leap years, and it's wrong number of days.
Yeah.
Now you command the Israelites to keep the years in this number, 364 days. Then the year will be complete, and it will not disturb its time from its days or from its festivals, because everything will happen in harmony with their testimony. They will neither omit a day nor disturb a festival. If they transgress and do not celebrate them in accord with his commands, then all of them will disturb their times. The years will be moved from this. They will disturb the times, and the years will be moved. Great. They will transgress their prescribed pattern. All the Israelites will forget and will not find the way of the years. They will forget the first of the month, the season, and the Sabbath. They will err with respect to the entire prescribed pattern for years. Oh, man. So this is where Zara Yaakov gets it.
Yeah, how else could you know? You need it.
Yeah. For I know, and from now on will inform you, not from my own mind, because this is the way of the book is written in front of me, and the divisions of times are ordained on the heavenly tablets, lest they forget the covenantal festivals and walk in the festivals of the nations after their error and observe their ignorance, presumably the festivals of other nations in general. There will be people who carefully observe the moon with lunar observations because it is corrupt with respect to the seasons and is early from year to year by 10 days.
I like because it's corrupt with respect to the seasons. Okay.
Yep.
What
That was verse 36.
36. Okay. Yes, let's talk about that a little bit. So here the author relates more particularly the nature of the calendrical error involved. The ones behaving wrongly appear to be Jews, that is, Jews who are acting like the nations, of course, other nations, instead of the way in which they should conduct themselves. He predicts that there will...
central theme of the Maccabees books.
Yeah, pretty much. He predicts that there will be individuals, quote, who carefully observe the moon with lunar observations. The repetitious expression leaves no doubt that the malefactors are users of a lunar calendar, or at least that the moon played a role in their calendations. Jubilees had made clear in 2:9 that only the sun functioned in this role. There is no place in such a system for the time measures related to the moon. The writer shows his awareness of the relative lengths in the solar and lunar years as they are defined in 1st Enoch. The former consists of 364 days, the latter of 354, so that the difference between them is a 10-day period. 10-day period. As Jubilees puts it, the moon is early each year by 10 days. That is 12 lunar months, total 354 days. This must be the calendrical arrangement he opposes with his schematic months. According to him, it is not only short but also corrupt in connection with the seasons. And of course, I'm guessing that corruption is the whole fact that it's out of sync now. It's not, they're not doing their whole prescribed paths.
Yeah. Madness.
Yeah.
Therefore, years will come about for them when they will disturb the year and make a day of testimony something worthless and a profane day of festival. Everyone will join together, both holy days with the profane and the profane days with the holy days, for they will err regarding the months, the Sabbaths, the festivals, and the Jubilee. For this reason, I am commanding you and testifying to you, so that you may testify to them, because after your death your children will disturb it, so that they will not make the year consist of 364 days only. Therefore, they will err regarding the first of the month, the season, the Sabbath, and the festivals. They will eat all the blood with all kinds of meat.
Yeah, so the context only. So one could interpret it as opposing people who think a year contains more than 364 days, say 365, but in the context only may be meant to stress that 364 alone is the correct number. So the way we have it now, it's pretty true, but it still goes off. We don't have a perfect calendar. We just don't. Like, we have leap years, but I'm pretty sure we also have leap centuries. Yeah.
And a leap second. Don't forget those leap seconds. We had one in 2000.
Amazing.
Yeah, we do occasionally have one.
Yeah, we gotta fix the time sometimes, because no calendar is actually perfect. Either way, that is actually the end of chapter 6.
Yep. And that's the end of what we're reading today.
Yeah,
exciting stuff about calendars and dates.
Yeah, right. Calendars and pretty much a genealogy. Oh boy,
what a fun series of chapters. Well, I'm sure something more exciting will happen.
I really hope so.
Yeah. Well, anyways, that's about it.
Yeah.
And if you enjoyed the stream, check us out on Patreon. $1 a month gets you scripts. $5 a month gets you self-published books. $10 a month gets you a monthly T-shirt raffle giveaway thing, and spin the wheel. And then for $20 a month, you get in our monthly patron hangouts, and $50 a month, once a month, you can be on one of our weekly shows. And we also have an Amazon wish list full of books.
We do. There lots of books over there on Amazon. I mean, you could add to this table. You could get us books, and we'll read them, and we'll use
commentaries.
We'll use them as sources, and you're investing in your own entertainment and your own knowledge, because we read them so you don't have to.
Yep. And if you want to hear more about the days of the weeks of the Jubilees, then join us on Friday again next time. Right. Besides that, we got Twitter, we got Facebook, we got Teespring, full of wacky and fun T-shirts, and
we do have wacky and fun T-shirts.
Got our fun drive going on.
Yep, we've mentioned the 666 drive before, but once we hit our goal, we're gonna get Thetan meter. We're gonna see who's the most clear, and we're gonna take it apart and manipulate it. So I think that's all the shilling. Facebook, Twitter.
Yeah, Facebook, Twitter, free to follow us on there. And until next time, we will see you on Sunday. Sunday.